Okay, we're gonna go this time. We're gonna whip out another purple one here. There we go, voila, we got another piece. Nice straight stitch all the way down. I just start cutting strips of fabric and start sewing them together. And then next thing you know, out comes a kite. I'm known as Mr. Kite. My real name is Craig Christensen, but people all over have known me by the name of Mr. Kite, and I answer to both. Live here in Webster, Minnesota, and been making kites for about 20-some years.
There, we got wind now.
It's unique in a ways, but if you stop and talk to people, somewhere in their life, there's been some kites involved. They've had an uncle that's made kites, or their dad used to make kites. You've always got somebody that comes up and gives you a kite story.
Just give it a little tug on the line.
I've had a love for flying from day one. My father was an airline pilot, and I was basically raised around airplanes. I got into model airplanes very heavy in the early years, and it got to be just a little much. Didn't have enough time to keep putting airplanes together, so wandered into a kite shop, found some kind of neat looking kites, and bought a couple $100 worth of them. Then one winter day, it was way too windy to fly model airplanes, and decided, well, let's get some of them kites out and see how they go, you know. Well, that was it. All of a sudden, I'm hooked. Well, I was about 40 years old or better, and when I bought these kites in the kite shop, and I got the look, and I thought, well, somebody else can build this stuff, I can too. This one, this is my very first one that I made right here. And so Mom had an old sewing machine, and I dug that out, and I got some fabric, and it's like, oh, I can do that. I just take 3 or 4 rolls of fabric, and it's the same cloth that you see on the big sailboats with the big, colorful sail out in the front. You just roll along, and voila, you got a piece. And what we do is make just a whole pile of them, and then we just keep adding them up till we get kites. There's times where I'll sit down and I'll sew for, 6 or 8 hours if nothing else is happening. And it just really isn't that hard. Pretty near everything will fly. You just have to work with it a little more than some of it. A lot of my stuff is like patchwork quilt stuff or pieces of stained glass. It's the same as the artist does with sculpture or painting. Some people paint on canvas. Well, I do fabric work, and it's a piece of artwork. It just isn't on canvas, and it isn't hanging on a wall. It's flying in the air. Peaceful. You're out in the fresh air. You're usually out where it's nice. Kite is just kind of floating around in the sky, and I always say that kite line just pulls the nastiness out of you and takes it off to somewhere where it needs to go. And in here we've got over 1,200 kites. These kites don't gather dust. Some of them may have not been flown for a year or two, but somewhere along the way they come out and get used either for a display or for a fly somewhere. When I go to a festival, I load a few things up because I never know what I might find for wind conditions, so I got a few spares. Well, I kind of picked up the name Mr. Kite, kind of added a little class, you know. One of the guys that I worked with says, oh, you should have a tuxedo. And the thing was kind of floating in the back of my mind. And that was the start of the tuxedo and the top hat. I've went through 3 tuxedos already, and on the second top hat. And yes, it is a mark. Oh, no, I never grew up. I'm still just a kid. 68 going on 15 or 16. Peekaboo. Lifelong, yeah, desire of enjoying toys. Just a kid at heart.